Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for joining our stream today. My name is Anna Bakhvalova, and I'm a Chief Marketing Officer at Career Pathway Institute. And we are a nonprofit organization that help internationals to move forward with the careers that fits the best in the United States. And I want to say hi to my team behind the scene, Dima, Lena, Kate. Thanks for supporting us. And if you're interested in joining our community, please take a look at the links below the description. Or if you would like to join our team, you are welcome. And at the very end of this live stream, I will share an amazing opportunity that our institute is offering. Be sure to still till the end. And knowing how frustrating and difficult it can be to find a job here in the United States, we decided to create a series of interviews with accomplished professionals who have already passed this journey and can share their experience. And today we have a very interesting guest with a very interesting topic that's called five common mistakes when job searching in the United States market. And we have really amazing guest today with us. And let me introduce you, Ivetta. Hi, Ivetta. Ivetta is a job searcher strategy coach with 15 plus years of experience in IT in roles such as software engineer, project manager, technical product manager, and a product manager. She guides people who are wandering through the job search, career advancement, or career transition from a place they are right now to a place where they can thrive. Hi, Ivetta. Hi.
Hi, Anna. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, me happy too. So yeah, we have so many questions to you, and like we're so happy that you can share with your knowledges, and we really appreciate you if you're sharing with some tricks or tips for our audience. And so many people arrive to the United States and they're struggling how to build their career pathway here in the United States because they face that in their country it was one style of job searching, and here it works in absolutely different way. And maybe could you share like how international job market differ from the United Job market?
Sure. Happy to answer all the questions. So let's start. Like you said, the markets are very different. Sometimes I compare it to, traveling with your electronic devices. When you come with an electronic device from one country, if you don't have an adapter, it's going to be impossible or difficult to use your device. So some of the differences that I do notice when working with people who are newly immigrated or still searching from other countries. So three things. So first thing is sometimes job titles are called a little bit different, or maybe names are similar, but responsibilities are different. I see that a lot with product and project managers where in other countries, they do a lot of different things and they call it something like head of product. But turns out what they do actually is called program management here, for instance.
Oh.
So it's very important, right, to understand, and that's just one example. It's very important to understand how to translate. And by the way, that actually even happens to people who work in the U.S. sometimes. Sometimes they have responsibilities that overlap. So it's important. We'll get to the strategies that work, but basically, it's important to understand what job title to choose when you start a job search. So that's one thing. Another thing I noticed, especially with people coming from Europe, is that a lot of them are generalists. Right, meaning, and that's fantastic. It's very exciting for me to see because people come with like a lot of different talents. I can do this, I can do that, I can do,
Exactly. That's such a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like people can do UX, people can do testing, some development, something else, right? It's very, very cool. Fortunately or unfortunately, US market is a little bit different. It favors specialists more than generalists. So yes, there are some professions where it's important to be generalist. There are actually some professions that are called like HR generalist, for instance, but that's different. That's the name of it overall. But in general, you don't want to have a resume where you have a bunch of different roles. Like I can be a QA and product manager, for instance, and I see that a lot. Again, I love seeing that people are so talented, but to optimize your job search, you have to focus on one. We'll get to that as one of the strategies later.
And sometimes it's so hard to choose, like,
it is hard to choose when you're talented.
You like this your own portfolio and see, I can do this, I can do this, like, to choose the one is sometimes very struggling. You do not want to cut it off from your but it doesn't help you to find a good job in the United States because they have different expectations about you. Okay,
Absolutely.
got it.
And you are correct. It's hard to choose. And one of the reasons is that people think it gives them more of benefit if they can do different things. They think they're more valuable. And they are once they start the job. It is valued that you are open to trying different things. You can put on different hats, especially in the startup world. It's very valuable. But during the job search, you want to look very focused. So you brought up a good point. It is hard to choose. So, okay, next thing is that I notice is the time that it takes to find a job in the US. So a lot of time people are surprised how long that takes. Especially, not especially, but what I notice is in other countries where high tech is also developed, and a lot of American companies outsource to those countries, it's actually very easy for talent to find jobs. I mean, maybe they don't pay as much, right? But nothing pays as much as Silicon Valley, of course. But it's actually, interestingly enough, it's much faster to find jobs in certain markets. Not all of them, right? But in certain markets, like in Eastern Europe, for instance, it takes people with a few years of experience, maybe like a few weeks or
a couple of days. I had this experience, I had an interview on Thursday, and director or manager could ask me, is it okay for you to start on Monday, like in 2 or 3 days, and you just have a couple of days to set up all your things, your routine, and just to be prepared. Everything is decided so quickly, and people definitely struggled. Oh my God, 6 interviews. It can take one month maybe, and so people just struggling. Are they kidding me or what? Or is it normal process? Yeah, it's a huge difference. Yeah, thanks for highlighting this moment.
Yeah, I mean that's a very cool story. You are very experienced and very smart, so of course people want to hire you. But it is important to understand that doesn't matter how talented and experienced you are, it will take longer in the U.S. market typically to find a job. And it's not because you're an immigrant. It's not because, that takes time to adjust, of course, right? And you need maybe to gain certain skills, etc. But it's just, that's how the market is. We have a lot of companies and we have also a lot of competent workers. And it just takes longer to find that match. Right? Like sometimes I use this analogy, like when you live in a small village and you want to find a partner, doesn't take you long, probably, because the choices are limited.
Yeah, just guys, I'm looking for a partner. So maybe you could join my company. Oh yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
So anyway, when you have more choices, it takes longer.
Okay. Yeah.
To find a match between a company and an employee. So something to keep in mind and not get frustrated about, and not doubt yourself as much, but keep trying to optimize your your job search. So that's that.
That's a really great point. So maybe just like wrap up all these five most common mistakes in a job search process in the United States. So all people think like they just like to wondering that I have a specific situation, I'm a unique, and I do not face with all these common mistakes. But you as a career coach always see like, oh my god, everybody's repeating and repeating the same common mistakes. So let's explain us what is this.
Well, everybody is unique, and maybe there are some people who don't make these mistakes. It's fantastic. But it's also okay to make these mistakes, and nothing wrong with that. That's the reason why we have this event today, right? We want people to know what they are, help them avoid them, so they can move on and be successful. So no shame about making mistakes.
Yeah.
All right. We all make them. Okay, so the first mistake I want to talk about is, and we already touched on that a little bit, is when people don't have a clear understanding what is the role they're looking for is called. So they try to put everything they know how to do on their resume, and they keep searching in different directions, and that doesn't help. What helps is when you have your, and you're very familiar with that, not your personal brand, but your professional kind of brand, right? Like you know who you are. It's very clear, just like with a personal brand, right? Which you're an expert in. So it helps to have a clear message, right? Like I am a really good product manager. That's what I do. As a side thing, I mean, I also know how to do UX. I also know how to test things. I also know maybe how to do strategy, but which is actually part of product management. But the point being that in your job search, you have to be very, very focused about the role. And that leads us to the next common mistake. Number two is having one generic resume. So that's a very important point. I'm going to take a little bit more time to explain it. It's going to get just a little bit more technical for people who don't know. This information will be very useful. So typically the way people look for a job, how do they start? They start with a resume, right? I'm going to update my resume with the latest experience, and I'm going to start applying. So the reason why that doesn't work is the following. If you're applying for a small company, it's very likely your resume will be looked at by a person, like a recruiter, or maybe a hiring manager directly. If you're applying,
you mean real person, like
a real person, correct? Yes. If you are applying for a bigger company, there is a high chance that your resume will be going through a scanner. They're called ATS scanners. Don't ask me right now what they stand for. I should know, but I always forget. It's not important. But basically, it's a program. It's a computer program that takes your resume, takes the job description, and compares them to see how well they match. And the recruiters can configure what that means for a resume to match. Maybe they're looking for certain universities, maybe they're looking for certain experiences, maybe they're looking for certain skills.
So like, do you mean that each single company have their own like keywords? What are they looking for? They can program like for this position. For us, it's crucial to have this name and like words for this kind of, and you never know what on 100% what exactly they're looking for in your resume.
It's not even a specific company for specific role for each of the
each of the roles. Okay.
Right. They configure what it is. We don't know exactly. We can guess, and there are tools that help us do that. So there are tools that are called emulators of those ATS scanners. I wonder if we can share with our audience. I mean, I'm happy to provide them later.
We can put all these useful links below in our description, so people can use it and check their resume is it fit match well or not?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there are a couple tools I recommend. I'll say the names very quickly. There is Resume Worded and there is Job Scan. So you can, for a specific job description, you can put in your resume and see how closely it matches. It gives you a percentage. And actually, those two products will give you different outcomes. So it's not 100%. It's mostly it's an educated guess. But those tools are very helpful. And what that means is that it is very recommended. I recommend it to all of my clients. And we usually get better results with that. People don't like to do it because it takes a lot of time. But I do strongly recommend that you customize your resume. And I'm going to make another point because that's an important one. Is that it's important to not just have keywords in your resume. It's important to tell a story. So study the job description. Read it more than for 2 seconds. Read a job description maybe 3-5 times. Really try to understand what are they looking for. Read about the company. Read about the hiring manager if you can, and try to explain in your resume and maybe cover letter that why you are the right person for the job.
That is very important. So, like, guys, if you're gonna to cheat with all these resume process and just put like like a list of your professional skills, no, it doesn't work in this way. You have to implement these keywords into text and like text, or create a very interesting storytelling about yourself and put these keywords into between the lines. And yeah, you have to hide it. It doesn't look it shouldn't look like you just just no, please don't cheat this program. Maybe they also program to understand if you're cheated.
Sometimes you can see in the resume, some people just copy and paste like a sentence from the job description to resume. Sometimes that works. I mean, typically it's okay to use the keywords, but you should give your own example, like where you've done what it is they're looking for.
Okay, but you do not recommend just copy paste or stuff like that?
Typically not.
Okay, sure. I'm just.
There are some exceptions. It gets more nuanced, but typically no. You're correct. It's just like with everything else. I mean, you have to show your personality, right? That you're not just copy and pasting.
Yeah, definitely. And so, could you how many times it just takes to take these keywords and create your own storytelling about yourself? Sometimes it can be very complicated. Of course, right now with GPT chat, it could be pretty much easier and but I don't know. What is the average time? How much it takes usually just preparing good resume?
That's a whole different event. But
Okay.
just very quickly. So the first resume, of course, takes time. When I work with a person, it usually takes an hour, sometimes longer. The second one takes less, and then you don't have to customize it so much all the consecutive times. It takes progressively less time with the next one. But and you don't have to super customize it for jobs that are not maybe that interesting. Maybe for jobs that you find that you're a really good match for, take your time. So excuse me.
So guys, if you right now you have a little pause and please write it down all your comments in here in our chat. So after our talking, we're gonna read all your questions, and it's a really great opportunity for you. It's a really great opportunity for you just to ask a really great professional. Is everything okay? sometimes it just happen, like, you have live stream or webinar, and like, kids are just knocking to the door. Some people start to mowing
Off.
the lawn or stuff like that, or your neighbor just knocking to the door and he needs salt. Oh my god, you think, oh my god. Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah. uh
Sorry about that. I was trying to mute myself and then it went reverse. Right.
that's okay,
I'm
that's
not used
okay.
to
That's
talking.
absolutely okay. Yeah, it happens. Like, Iveta, uh, do you call maybe more mistakes, like, common mistakes, maybe like, mm-hmm,
So I think we covered just two so far. So we
mm-hmm,
can move a little faster. So next mistake we're going to talk about is I see a lot of people assume because they know how to do a job well, it should be easy for them to interview.
mm-hmm,
What they don't realize is that interviewing, looking for a job and interviewing are different skills. So you
mm-hmm.
might know how to do a job really well, but you might not be prepared to interview. Um,
Okay.
like I was not prepared to talk for a long time today.
Yes, sometimes it happens.
So, right, and stuff like that happens, and that's okay. So, it's important to understand that looking for a job, preparing for interviews, if it's a new skill for you. If you haven't done it for a long time or ever,
Mm-hmm.
especially like in a new country, it will take time. Educate yourself, work with people who know how to do it, talk to other people who are looking for jobs, and that's like a skill set that you want to gain. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, that's a really great point. Like, to be prepared for interview, it's absolutely different. And I'm like, we both know, like, this community, women in tech Silicon Valley, and like, it's a pretty common question. Like, I hate this interview process. Like, and sometimes it's just looking like dance of the liars. Like, one person try to represent themselves from best point of view. Company try to represent themselves also as the best point of view, and like, you are just playing this kind of game. But interview, it's really important just to see how are you working with your own stress. And especially, I think it could be very hard for introverts, maybe, because, like, they do not use to talk with people too much, and especially from people from other countries who do not used to, like, represent themselves in the best way. Just they think I can't bragging or stuff like that, and for them it's really could be really hard, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. I see a lot of that. People from some countries are not used to storytell about themselves, and they feel like it's selling themselves, it's advertising, it's marketing, and it doesn't feel right at first. Um, of course, there is another way to look at it, which is to learn how to tell stories, right? Storytelling is a good, important skill. It's not, it can be authentic. It doesn't have to be cringy. You can be still true to yourself and learn how to tell good stories so people can learn about you faster.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That is really great point. Like, yeah, especially if you had a really huge gap of interviewing, and like last maybe 5 or 7 years, you just work hard, and like you was never thinking that I have to update my resume, I have to update my interview skills. It could be really pretty challenging, and like, even for really experienced people, like, this
Absolutely.
could be really surprised. They feel it kind of exams, and they like, again, I'm too old to get in these exams one more time. And they're just sitting and frustrating. And sometimes it's the main reason why people do not change their job, because they're scared that of going through this interviews process. But it's not easy. Okay. Thanks, that's a really great point. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's that can happen to anyone, even people with a lot of experience. So that happens. Next point I wanted to talk about is, and we already touched on that, having a reasonable timeline for finding a job, right? That puts a lot of pressure on you. If you don't know how long it typically takes, and especially if you are, that's an important point. If you're trying to transition into a new role, like into a new career, transitioning, like let's say you were a QA engineer, you want to become a UX designer. Let's say you went to school and then you're looking for a job. It's going to take you longer
Mm-hmm.
to find a job than if you were looking for another QA job. Okay. Next point. I'm going to speed up a little if that's okay.
That's okay.
So we
That's
can go
absolutely
to
okay.
questions. I'm sure we
Hmm.
have a lot of exciting questions waiting for us.
Yeah.
So next point I want to make is that, and you just brought it up, is that people don't have a definition of the job search that sets them up for success. What I mean
Hmm.
by that is, you said, like, people go for interviewing and they feel like they're sitting in court, somebody's going to judge them. Why do I have to do this, go through this horrible experience again? And it doesn't have to be this way, right? You can think about interviewing and job search in different ways. You can think about it as playing a game. You can think about it as a business project. You can think about yourself as a product, and you're product managing, yourself through the job search. So there are different stories you can use to go through this in a more productive way.
Yeah.
Okay, should we quickly cover strategies that work, or
I
should
think that it will be absolutely great. So, could you share with us, please, a job search strategy that really works? Like, just to save time for all people who just right now trying to get the job, and just guys, grab a pens and just write it down all these tips. So it could be very useful for you, Iveta.
Sure. I'll cover 5 points. There are many more. And you can educate yourself. You can read about more things to do, but I'm just going to cover a few. So, first one is super important, is your mindset when you start a job search. Before anything else, I see there is a question about worrying about your English. We'll get to that question later, but of course, everybody's worried when they start a job search, and that makes us a little bit desperate, right? Um, so just like right now, I was coughing in a very strong, desperate way, and not a very elegant way, but that's okay, right?
That's absolutely
That
okay.
happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes
Again,
these things happens. Like
that's
we
right.
can't fluent on this, okay?
I was
Yeah.
coughing my lungs out. That's what happens. Is that you want to, if you can, of course, that's not trivial. It takes some time, but try to kind of switch your mindset from being in this position of desperation to, what are the strengths that I have that I can share with the world, right? With the companies that I will work for. Try to list those things that you know how to do well, that you like to do, and that the companies are looking for. So you can imagine this as 3 different circles: things you know how to do well, you want to do, which is important, and that companies are looking for. The intersection of those 3 circles is your golden kind of spot. That's where you want
Mhm.
to, the kind of jobs that you want to be looking for.
Mhm. You
All
love
right.
to do what you love to do, what you can to do, and what companies are looking for. Okay, that's a great point. And intersections is the answer.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's so that intersection is actually the strategy number 2, right? So we just covered that. All right. Next point is, we touched on that a little bit, is understanding what is the role that you're looking for is actually called, like what it is you want to do and what it's actually called in the job market. Is it called sales operations specialist? Is it called senior administrator of Salesforce? And the way you do it is you study job listings, right? You can search by your skills and then try to figure out what it is you want to do that's actually called. Like, don't assume because you think you might be a good product manager that you should be looking for those jobs. Study job descriptions. Do you really know how to do them? If you know how to do, here's a quick hack. Um, that's probably worth writing down or remembering. Is when you read a job description, you don't have to know how to do everything 100%. If you know how to do about 60-80%, you can apply. So that's a little tip. And next one is we talked about customizing the resume. So it is worth investing a little bit of your time into that, learning how to do that either with a coach, with other people, just reading and using those ATS scanner tools. But try to do that if you can. And the last tip is more philosophical. Job search is not it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Oh,
So
that sounds interesting. So, like, you mean it's a really long process?
uh, it's a long process, but it doesn't have to be painful, right? I mean, there are some people who are better at marathons. Think about it as you need a different skill set when you train for a sprint, right? As a sprinter versus when you train for a marathon. You train very differently, and your expectations of yourself are different.
Okay, could you explain a little bit better what, like, this marathon job searching process looks like? You have to be prepared for what? Just like, do not cry if, like, two or three companies don't answer you, or what this is. It's just every morning, like, I've heard this phrase, like, that looking for a job, it's a job. Just job searching, it's a job. It's a
Right.
process, and sometimes it takes time, maybe 8 hours per day, and you shouldn't be surprised about it. And like, you have to be a very stubborn person. Just go, go, go forward. Yep. Or what do you mean about when you call it marathon rather than sprint?
You're right. I mean, you put it very well. Yes, it will take a long time, right? So prepare, like in a sprint, for instance, right? When you just need to run very quickly, short distance, right? I mean, you train in speed. When you prepare for a marathon, it's about endurance, right? Like you have to be prepared to do this for a long time, and you have to conserve your strength, right? You don't start a marathon by running really fast and then you're out of energy and you crash, right? People who train for marathon, they train how to first run maybe for
Mm-hmm.
shorter
Mm-hmm.
distance, longer. So in terms of job search, you're correct. Do not give up if you got rejected from 3 companies. Sometimes it takes 15, 20 rejections, maybe even more before, and it takes time to even get to the point of rejection, right? You have to submit hundreds of applications. You have to network. You have to use referrals. But you have to basically optimize your chances of getting an interview. And then it's a funnel. It's like a marketing funnel, right? I mean, you start with a bunch of applications. At every step of the way, there are fewer opportunities, but you only need one.
Yeah, so we can consider rejection as a real success, like, so you get rejection, and it's good. That means that you already done a bunch of works. This is really great.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Iveta. Thanks for sharing. And I see that we have a couple of questions. Okay, Iveta, what do you think about using GPT? I suppose it's GPT for cheating your resume. Oh, it's a really good question. Like, Chat GPT, it's a really hype topic, and everybody's discussing this. And people, it's so interesting how people are sharing this diverse experience of GPT chat. How do they cheat with these chats? So, what do you think about it? Like, did you try it for? career job searching? Maybe you recommended it for your clients or stuff like that. What is
So
your opinion?
I'm trying to be careful about this because it's still unknown territory, right? So I'm not giving any legal advice for sure. Just practical advice. I mean, people create their resumes with coaches, right? Career coaches. People create their resumes with friends, with coworkers. Like, it's not necessary that you write your own resume every time because, again, it's a skill. Not everybody has it. Um, I think it's exciting that we can use tools that save us time. I don't think it's cheating to use a tool. Just like the resume scanners that I mentioned. I mean, they're tools. Um, we use them to optimize our chances. I think you save a lot of time. I don't think it's cheating because you still have to tell the story, right? I mean, if you just copy and paste what ChatGPT gave you, it might not be the best choice. Make sure you still, your story is still there.
Okay, so like, do you think Chat GPT? Sorry, maybe I didn't like read it correct. Like, is GPT Chat good for creating resume? So sometimes people just struggling when they see this white paper and they have to start from very beginning and they have no idea how to start. Is it good to use GPT Chat?
So I haven't used that for that to create a resume from scratch. So I don't know. However, tools have existed for many years that help you create. They're called resume builders. We can use them in our links later, to paste for to share with our audience. But there are tools that help you create resumes, and they're becoming smarter. So I think some of them are using OpenAI to actually create the actual content of the resume. So the tools like that are out there.
Yeah, and like I think that we do not have a huge data of using GPT chat for these tools. Maybe when we meet with you, maybe 2 or 3 years later, we just will be laughing. Oh my God, do you remember we were discussing about GPT chat and we were so scary about of this and we didn't know how to use it in a properly way. So that's definitely. And we have another one question. Um, if you now field where you want to work, how can I understand where exactly they have offices? Example, I want to know only who are in Bay Area or LA, not San Francisco. Place is important for me.
Um, so a lot of companies have remote offices too, right? And sometimes it's a mix. It depends on the position. A company that has offices in different cities might not have your position in that city. So it's I mean, when you use LinkedIn or other search engines for jobs, you can filter by location and that will only give you job descriptions for that geography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great point because sometimes, you're just wondering, should I apply for this position if it's and you can see there's location for this position. Yeah, it could be really unpredictable sometimes. Yeah, and okay, and do we have another one questions? Okay. Do we have more questions, guys? Please don't hesitate. This is a really great opportunity to ask your questions. And Ivetta, she's a really experienced career coach with more than 15 years of experience, and she definitely could share with us very useful technique. Okay, so Ivetta, thanks for coming today, and thanks for highlighting this topic about 5 common mistakes when job searching in the United States. And thanks to everybody for watching. And if you have more questions to ask, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments down below. And yeah, and Elsa, welcome to contact with us through the social media all our links you can find below. And as I promised earlier, it's time to share an amazing opportunity in that career pathway Institute is offering. And right now we are working on creating a career coaching program called Mindset for Career Success. And you are very welcome to apply for a grant. And putting your career on hold can be stressful, and navigating new career path in new country is not an easy task. Yep, it's not easy. Like, guys, you're doing well, and it's pretty challenging. And if you need professional support in this journey, this program is for you. And more details on the link below this video. And we try to do everything to help our community to find this job better. And like, thanks for Ivetta, she came to us and explaining all these things. And if you have any suggestions in terms of future topics or guests you would like to share your story, please contact us. If you are watching the recording, thanks for your time. And we'll have more events like this on a regular basis. So make sure to subscribe to our channel. And like Elsa, we have a really great news that we are gathering in person February 5th at 11 a.m. at Stanford. So, Iveta, I will be happy to see you there for our community. And thanks everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.